So today, friends, we are going to be talking about your unpopular opinions. Okay, your hot takes. And I said, listen, give it to me straight, any subject. You can talk about whatever you want. And boy, did you guys deliver. I was dying reading some of these. I had to stop because I was like, I kind of want to be surprised in the moment when I'm reading some of these. So you can be surprised with me on some of your guys' hot takes. And I'll share my thoughts on whatever your unpopular opinions are too. So just gonna be a fun hangout sesh is basically what this is. I'm gonna get ready with you. Actually, I need my Bioderma. Hold on. I don't have a mirror. There we go. It's like, how am I doing this without a mirror? I have done a video like this before, but it was a long time ago. And I remember it being so much fun. So I'm kind of excited to chat with you guys about all the things. These are these like cotton rounds I got and they're exfoliating on one side. And I don't know that I love it, but sometimes I kind of need that. I'll get dry skin in my eyebrows. Do you ever get that? And you almost need a little bit of exfoliation to get it out of there. Anyway, all right, let's start off strong. Okay, one of you said, I can never decide if you guys want to hear your names read or not. I think on this particular video type, I'm not going to share your name because you might be sharing something that you wouldn't necessarily want everyone. I don't know. So I feel like this one's a little bit more delicate subject matter. I mean, yeah, I'm being dramatic, but one of you said, I'm so over influencers, not you, tagging companies. We know you're trying to get it for free. Okay, it's actually interesting that you mentioned that because anytime I'm posting something, sometimes I'll tag companies, but I've been trying to, I mean, I've made it abundantly clear. I've been trying to get off of PR lists, so I'm not trying to get on virtually any list. I'm trying to get off of them. I've shared my reasoning. I don't really want to get into that here, but I always have the thought when I'm doing a hashtag or an @ you know, that you guys are gonna be like, oh, she's just trying to, and I'm like, first of all, it's the nature of the beast. Like, I can't fault anyone for wanting to get on PR lists. If this is what you're doing and you're trying to find a way to be able to try new products, especially like in the beauty space, it can be funny to see, but it's just kind of the way it is. So I never fault anyone for that. Now, if you were like outright lying or whatever, like shady practices, that's totally different. But I think as a general practice, a lot of people do it. It just is what it is. And you know what? They wouldn't do it if it didn't work. So there you go. But I can understand where that would be definitely kind of like, if you're curious, I'm not gonna talk a ton about the makeup today. I might mention it here or there, but anything that I'm using, I will have linked below. Generally, it's a bunch of favorites that I've just been using pretty much every day. Okay, this is actually a really fresh perspective. And I think we've all noticed it. I know, like, I can see my analytics behind the scenes, of course, and I can see the ages that most of my viewers are. Their age range based on, I think it's like 10 years, you know. And so I know a lot of people watching me are around my age, some of them younger, some of them older. But generally, a lot of people around my age are the bulk of who's watching. Actually, I would say that's maybe like 40 or 50%, but then it's split older and younger. So this is an interesting topic. One of you said, okay, the obsession about what people in early adulthood wear, the trends, etc. They're still learning about who they are, which is fine, but they aren't worth following for trends. Yeah. Yeah. I get what you're saying. Like at a certain point, it is kind of funny that we're all, and I am, oh my gosh, part of the guilty party, especially since with what I do, I feel like part of what I do is like share about trends and what's going on and maybe how I'm trying personally a certain trend. And I certainly don't try them all because a lot of them would not look good on me, or I have tried them and I'm like, nope, not for me. But I do think it's an interesting habit that's become a part of our culture that we look to, you know, 15 to 20-year-olds for what's cool when the reality is like, why would they know? Not that, I mean, that might be cool in their school or whatever. And I'm not saying some of you guys watching are gonna be like, hey, you do know. Your finger is way more on the pulse than most of us are when it comes to what's cool. But what is cool to other 15 to 20-year-olds. So eventually it seeps out. And if you've seen like the trend of like, let me pull it up because I never remember what it's called. It's an interesting idea. So there's this idea of like the cycle of a trend or how quickly a trend is adopted. I'll pop up a little visual if you're just curious if you've never heard of this. And I guess this is something that's like true for just change. So there's the innovators, the people that are like maybe setting a trend. Then there's the early adopters. That's 13.5%. Then the early majority is 34%, the late majority of people hopping on a trend, and then the laggards, it's the last 16%. It's funny because if you think of any trend, if you've been paying attention even a little bit, I feel like I can spot the time when I like see a trend, I'm like, ooh, I don't like that. And then I start to see it maybe on one or two people I see when I'm out and about over the course of a month, or maybe I'm like traveling to a big city where maybe there's a higher concentration of people paying attention to these kinds of things. Then I think, well, maybe I'll try it. I feel like I would typically, based on what I do, fall into the early majority, but not necessarily early adopter phase. Where do you fall in? Maybe you're like, I don't care, I'm not even on that. Or you're the laggard, or you just don't care. A lot of you guys mentioned trends, and you mentioned how you feel like trends oftentimes aren't wildly flattering depending on your body type. And I definitely agree with that, especially with a lot of trends happening right now. And that you should focus on dressing the way you look and feel best, like without focusing on that, because that will always look better on you than trying some kind of random trend that whatever. I'm like, I would agree with that. I feel like I've tried certain trends and I'm like, you know, does not look good on me. One trend that supposedly is coming back is like a peplum top, and I loved peplum tops, and I remember wearing one only a few years ago because I kept some of my favorites just because I loved them, you know, and I'd wear them. And I remember someone saying like, oh my gosh, peplum tops, I haven't seen those in like 10 years. And I was so, and it wasn't even someone I'm like close with, but you know when certain things are said to you and they just like burrow in deep and you can't stop thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, I guess peplum tops are out of style. So my stupid self got rid of those peplum tops, and guess what? I still miss them. I can still picture those few peplum tops that I miss. If you don't know what a peplum top is, it's like one that comes in at the waist, and then there's usually like a band, and then it kind of flares out. I just thought it was cute. It comes in at your natural waist. I feel like it can be flattering on my body type. I don't know. Long story short, they're coming back, and I'm like, well, I guess I could have been considered one of the innovators if I just kept riding that train all the way through. Anyway, trends are exhausting is I think the end all be all. And it is really funny if you take a step back and think about like, who are we following here? A bunch of like little kids. Like, what do we care what they think? Anyway, all right, we can move on from that chat. Okay, one of you said audiobooks do not count as reading. What do you guys think on this one? I want to know from you guys, what are your thoughts on this idea that audiobooks don't count? So one of my good friends exclusively listens to their books, literally does not ever sit and read. I will agree, I just realized I don't have my makeup brushes, hold on. I will agree that the action of reading versus the action of listening is definitely different. However, let me ask you this might paint your viewpoint of it, just came to me. Think about like when you learn about learning styles, like, oh, I'm better at visual, like if I see it visually, I learn it better. Or others are like, if it's read to me or said to me, I learn by listening. Others learn better by reading. So my question to you is this: what is the goal of reading a book, right? It is to either learn something or to be entertained by a story, to be whisked away. Do you get both of those outcomes from reading and from listening to it? Yes. So if that is how we're viewing it, I think audiobooks count. I count my audiobooks. I would say I read 70% of the books, maybe 75 of the books I read in a year, I'm reading. But there's, you know, a fourth of maybe not, maybe it's like 20% of the books I'm reading for the year, I count as a book I read, but they were audiobooks like in the car. I think both count. Like, I agree that like it's just a different style of doing it, but some people just really are not fast readers. Maybe some of you guys listening to this right now, you're like, I'm not a strong reader, but I really like being whisked away into a story or whatever. So I vote it counts, okay? I vote it counts. Yes, you absorbed the information differently, but you absorbed the information nonetheless. I'm just saying, and I will say this too, maybe it's proof that I do learn better from listening. I feel like a lot of the books I remember the best were audiobooks. And maybe it's just based on the story, I don't know. Also, it is getting wildly dark. Is it about to storm? A nice late winter storm? I don't know. It's one of those days that's actually kind of warming up. It's like 55. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I went out in the backyard and picked up all the dog poo so we can run around back there with kids. Really just so that I don't have to not only me not step in it, but the kids when they step in dog poo, which is constantly if I don't clean it up. Cleaning that off the shoes is awful. So anyway, how did I get on that subject? I don't know. It's just really dark. So, okay, I count it. All right, I just turned on a couple more lights in here, so hopefully it looks a little better. One of you guys said, the towel you use after the shower should only be used once. Clean towel always. I disagree with this. I think twice is an acceptable amount. After that, that's where I'm like, okay, 2 times is good. But the argument, of course, for the other side is if you are in theory using it on a clean body, how dirty could it possibly be? Here's the thing. How often do you change your hand towel? Like, that is one I could get down with if I had like an unlimited supply of towels. I could get down with replacing my hand towel every single day. I feel like that, even though again, in theory, you're wiping your clean hands on it, I feel like hand towels gross me out quicker than anything in the world. Like if I am going to dry my hands and that hand towel is wet, I hate it. I hate it so much. I'd rather I'll shake to dry, forget it. But yeah, hand towels, I feel like I would argue you should change daily. Do I change mine daily? No, because I don't have enough. I'd have to be doing laundry. Maybe I should just get more and anyway. But yeah, but the bath towel, I think 2, maybe 3 is good. Now, if you're using the same one for like weeks, come on guys, come on. I don't care how clean your body is. Are you joining us, mister? Is it gonna storm? You tell me, Beagle. Be my weather beagle. You're so cute. Are you enjoying this style of video? Let me know if you are. I am totally enjoying this. I mean, I do get ready with me's all the time. It's fun when we're talking about something kind of like specific, and this is just making me laugh. Okay, this is kind of a deep subject. Are you guys ready for it? This person said, the saying marriage is hard work is so not right. It's not. If it is, something is wrong. Woo! That is loaded, and some of you guys instantly, like, I could feel you shift in your seat, like, cracking your neck, you're like mad. The reality is we all only have the experience we have within like the marriage arena. So none of us will ever know what is going on in someone else's world when it comes to marriage. And so when someone comes up to you or you're talking and they say marriage is hard work, it's really hard to know what they mean by that. Like, do they just mean like, you know, you have to be really thoughtful about how you talk to your partner and, you know, hear them out and whatever? Or it could mean a lot of things. I think that's what it is. And I think for some people, when they say that, they really might be happy in their marriage. They're just saying, you know, but it does take work. And others might be saying it and they are unhappy in their marriage and they're trying to make it work, but it is incredibly hard work. So I feel like I see both sides. I think that phrase just gets overused. So I agree with the original poster in that way that like, I think because people say it all the time, for some it becomes gospel truth. So they may be in a very, very unhappy marriage, maybe an unhealthy marriage, but they're thinking, well, marriage is hard work, so I guess this is just the way it's supposed to be. When I don't think that's the case. Like, I do think there's such a thing as a very unhealthy marriage and an unhappy marriage, and that sometimes like counseling can help that. There are certain things that could, and sometimes, I don't know. I wish I had like better answers for that, but I don't agree that it never should be hard work, but I get. My guess is the original poster is in a very happy marriage and it doesn't feel like work, and I'm so happy for you. I feel like we're in a very happy marriage and it doesn't often feel like work, and sometimes we'll hear even like family members say that kind of thing. And you know, I'll wonder to myself, well, like, what do you mean by that? I guess that's what I want to know. What do you mean when you say marriage is hard work? Does that make sense? I can't wait to read your guys' comments about that subject because I think we all will have a lot of different responses. Someone said, hot take, kids' birthday parties are the actual worst, especially for the parents. Get me out of there. Oh my gosh, we're entering, I feel like, birthday party season. Since our oldest is now in kindergarten, we're being invited to a lot more outside of our own family and like maybe like neighborhood friends and just friends we have. It's been interesting. We haven't gone to all of them. We've gone to some. We have a couple coming up. And I think it's more fun for the parents if you actually know the other parents. So like one we're going to, I've never even met the parents, so it's at a place, you know, I'll be there with her. It's just gonna be like an hour. But yeah, we've definitely had our fair share of some interesting birthday experiences. It can be fun, but it also can definitely not be. It'll be interesting as she gets older. I was just having a conversation with a friend of mine, and she's got 3 kids, and we were talking about I was like, how do you do, like, do you do a big birthday where they invite like their whole class or like a ton of friends? And she was saying that the way they've started doing it is they ask their kid, like, what do you want to do for your birthday? Like, what do you want to do? And sometimes they'll say, okay, I want to have like a big friend birthday party or whatever. And other times they'll just say, I want to go like on a weekend trip somewhere, which obviously within reason, because, you know, at a certain point, like how much are we spending on a birthday? But, or they're just like, I really just want to go to that bouncy house place or Chuck E. Cheese or whatever it is. I want to go to the movies. So you can do that as a family, maybe with a few friends, depending on what they really, really wanted. And then that's that. And then she said she'll have like a little family birthday party, maybe, depending on it doesn't matter. So I liked the idea of like, especially as your kid gets older, asking them, what do you want to do? Like, what is it that you would actually like to do on your birthday? And then go from there and see what becomes of it versus always having some big blowout. Like me as a kid, I would never have liked that. I had smaller like birthday parties and sometimes I was allowed to invite friends, but I was not the type of kid that liked that attention in that way. I don't know if you were the same way and if you have kids. So I'm like, the idea of throwing a huge birthday party for some of them when I know they actually wouldn't like that. So I love the idea of asking what they actually want. It's funny that that's like, like that should probably be our first instinct to do that, you know? Okay, I gotta turn on the overhead lights. All right, we're getting into some weird lighting because it's so dark out now. I can't even compete with it. So we're just gonna do the overhead light. Anyway, yeah, I feel like it should be first instinct to ask the kids. It's funny what isn't first instinct. Like when you've seen something culturally, like, oh, everyone throws this big party and invites everyone, or you go to a place and it's hundreds and hundreds of dollars, you know, anyway. Okay, wow, here's one. Married couples who don't share finances are weird. Who just got mad? Okay, so I know many examples of both. So Tyler and I share our finances. It's just the way we've done it. It's the way our parents did it too. But just because that's the way we do it doesn't of course mean that's the way to do it. So this is another one. I'm curious your thoughts. Do you share your finances with your significant other or not? And why? So like I said, we know multiple people in our lives that don't. They have their money, and actually a lot of people. They each have their own money. So in this case, they both work. So I'm curious, I feel like if you were a stay-at-home parent, then I feel like you'd almost have to have shared accounts, because if you know what I mean, if one of you is the provider for the family, then I feel like what would that even look like? So yeah, I'm curious, like, why do you share or why do you not? We share just because it made sense to us, because it was easier. Like, we were planning to pay for all of the things, so having separate pools of money, I guess for me, I don't know what purpose that would serve in my life. So I'm curious your guys' thoughts. Like, is there a purpose for that? Like, is it that you want to be able to make purchases without having to like ask permission or like explain why? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. So yeah, you do you. Most of the people I've talked to that don't share accounts have at least one shared account that they do both put into, but they'll put like the same amount into. But my question is always like, well, how does that work? Because if one of you makes more than the other, should you be putting a percentage of what you make in, or should it just be the same amount? Like, I feel like that would almost, for me, lead to more disagreements than anything. But also, they would have one shared account so that they can pay together for their rent or their mortgage or for groceries, you know, whatever that might be. But then they'd be separately paying for their own cars, things like that. So I do find that subject incredibly interesting, but I don't have one right or wrong way. I know that the way we do it has been working great for us. And I feel like it forces us to be on the same page with certain things and to find a way forward if we disagree on the way we're saving money or spending money or whatever it is. But I don't know. These are some juicy topics. That mascara I was using is new. It's the Benefit Bounce. It's very much like a soft look lash look, which I actually kind of like. So if you're into that, you might actually really, really like this. But it's definitely not going to give like wild volume. But I think for every day it looks good, but it's never going to build up to be like va boom. You know what? This one makes me laugh. I don't think grown adult humans should eat cold meat. Like, we're not animals. I'm curious what cold meat you're referencing. Like, are we talking about like leftover, like maybe you made steak the night before and you have leftover steak and you're eating it cold from the fridge? Oh, or maybe you're talking about like lunch meat. That's an interesting thought too. Like, why are we eating cold meat? I have literally never actually thought about how lunch meat is cold meat. I have said meat far too many times. I want to stop. Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, it's kind of like with cold pizza. Cold pizza is gross to me. I'm like, no thanks. I will heat it up, you mongrel. But I know some people like the taste of cold pizza. I'm like, I mean, if I were like, didn't have a way to heat it up and it was the leftovers we had and whatever, I would eat it, but I wouldn't be happy about it. These two are wrong, okay? I disagree with you so hard here. All right. One of you said bacon isn't as amazing as everyone makes it out to be. What are you talking about? Have you had bacon? No. Listen, I'm a fan of bacon. I will say there's bacon that exists, especially once you get it like restaurants generally, it is never very good. Like I could leave it. You're at a buffet, the bacon's never good. But when you make bacon at home, especially if you bake it, oh, like, please. I love bacon, so I disagree with you. However, this next one is maybe even more egregious, okay? Ketchup is better than ranch. Excuse me. I am a big fan of ranch, okay? And maybe that's it. I'm just not a very big ketchup person. So I think at the end of the day, that's what it's gonna amount to. Like, I'm not big on ketchup. My oldest daughter, however, likes ketchup, doesn't like ranch. So I think it's like almost like you like one or the other. Have you ever mixed ketchup and ranch? I have not, but have you ever mixed ketchup and mayonnaise? Because that is ambrosia. That is the food of the gods. That is so good. So, so good. So anyway, I disagree on both fronts, guys, okay? Okay, here's something I want to talk about. So one of you said JT, as in Justin Timberlake, gets all the credit, but it was JC who carried NSYNC on his back. Probably true. And JC, for whatever reason at the time during NSYNC, I was like, ugh. But now looking back, I'm like, he kind of was like the lead of NSYNC, but it's funny that JT got all of the attention. Looking back at boy bands, take a second and think of who is your boy band crush, okay? Now look at a picture of them, and as an adult, who would be your crush? Mine would have changed. So my crush at the time, like for Backstreet Boys, was Brian Littrell, and JT, of course, from NSYNC. Now, as a grown adult, obviously, AJ from the Backstreet Boys, or maybe Kevin. And then, but at the time I'm like, Kevin's so old, oh. And now I'm like, man, I had it all wrong. And then with NSYNC, I don't really know. I think I always thought like NSYNC, I definitely liked NSYNC better, but now looking back, I'm like, I wonder if Backstreet Boys was actually better. I love them both. I will say we saw Backstreet Boys live a few years ago and it was so fun. And of course now they've announced they're doing their Sphere residency in Vegas, and I'm like, kind of want to see them again. I don't think I'm gonna, but they were awesome live. It was so fun. I've got that song, I drive myself crazy. Oh, okay, if you're a musical theater person, Lin-Manuel Miranda should not have played Alexander Hamilton. Ooh, okay. Lin-Manuel Miranda is a genius when it comes to writing music, all of it, creating all the stuff, the music. I mean, anything he touches turns to gold, genuinely. Do I think he is this spectacular singer or actor? I really don't. And I've always felt that way, and I still feel that way, even back in the Heights days. However, he does bring energy when he's playing a role that he's written. I do think he brings this different level of energy to it that someone that didn't write it doesn't quite get there. Now, obviously, I've never gotten to see him live perform in the Heights or in, of course, Hamilton, but I've seen other people play him and they were amazing. But I always had that feeling in the back of my head that like, but man, if I were seeing Lin do this, it's just that much more electric. So I don't know. You gotta factor in the genius of him to it, and then I think it brings it up a level. But I agree that if he was just like a regular person auditioning, I don't know that he'd be getting these roles. I don't know, maybe I'd be wrong. Another one, weddings have become too much. Boy, our wedding was very small. So please understand where I'm coming from is from a place of like, we didn't have a very big wedding, so I'm always gonna prefer that because that's what we chose to do for ourselves. But I've been to so many big, beautiful, crazy weddings. We were at a wedding literally in Italy for a family member that was the most extravagant. I mean, it was beautiful. I mean, we had a ball, it was amazing. But, you know, some people just have a lot of money. But that aside, like, I feel like when people are having giant weddings that they can't afford, which is probably most, because these weddings, I mean, the price, when you see the price tag, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, it's one day, it's one day, it's one day. Point is, yeah, some of them have gotten to be wild, but I want to take a moment to talk about bachelor and bachelorette parties, because in talking with a lot of people I know, some of them were in like frats and sororities where they were like really close with a large group of people, and some of them they stayed in contact. And so they're all going to, like, over the course of 6 years, they've gone to like 12 bachelor or bachelorette parties, and they have gotten progressively more and more intricate and wild, and not wild like that, but you know what I mean? More intricate, more expensive, farther away, longer time. And so they've gone to, like, I'm thinking of one set of friends in particular that have gone to like multiple a year, and they're like thousands of dollars. They'll try to do like week-long trips, ski trips in Aspen, and you know, these huge things in Miami. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's almost as if the last person's trying to top the next person. You know what I mean? And it's just become this snowball. But the people that are affected the most are the people going, because they're having to pay their own way. So they're paying for their flights. They're splitting the stay up, but they're still paying for that. They're paying for their food. Because in theory, you don't want the bride or the groom to have to pay anything. So I just think it is snowballed into like the craziest level where, I mean, I don't know. I don't have that many friends, so I didn't have to go through a lot of that. But yeah, I don't know. People with large friend groups that are doing all that, I'm like, that's a lot. And it's a lot to ask of the people you're inviting on it. You know what I mean? So this is one I've gotten a lot. The beauty community is dying. I don't know. I have wondered that over and over again. Like, I have just had this natural progression in life where I love beauty, and I will still talk about it here, but it's no longer the sole focus of my channel because I personally am just not as interested. So what I've wondered in my head is, I know I'm not alone and kind of not still caring about it and being interested in it, but not anywhere near the level I used to be. Like, it used to be that I was voraciously watching for the newest launches and watching videos about them and wanting to do try-ons of them and buying everything that launched. And now I'm at a point where I'm like, you know, I generally found a lot of what I like, and I'm still gonna be trying new launches that interest me, but it's just not my sole excitement in life the way it used to be. And so I wonder if a lot of people are feeling the same way I am. Does that mean that as a natural result, the beauty community is just less prevalent, less popular, less... But then I see, I mean, so many people doing beauty content, and it does really well. So, you know, I don't know. I really don't know. And I guess at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because if you are doing what you like, I'm thinking from a creator's perspective, if you're doing what you like to do and beauty is that for you and you find joy in it, then what does it matter? And there's always going to be people wanting to watch it. Like, we as people, like, if you're someone that's watched beauty content for a long time, like me, like I'm talking a decade, you may naturally be pulling away from it and then be thinking, well, other people must be doing that too, which is kind of what I was wondering. But there will always be new people coming up that are suddenly newly interested in it, or they're younger and so they're just getting into it or whatever. So it may just be that you are feeling that because you're in a point of life where it's not as exciting to you. But then other people, I don't know. But I also wonder if, like, the new people, there's the sun. Are you kidding me? Oh no, it's gone. Just as soon as it came. Shouldn't have said anything. I feel like just as soon as, you know, maybe long form content beauty-wise doesn't do as well, but then the short form content beauty-wise does. So it's kind of, and I feel like the younger generation that maybe is getting into beauty content the way I did when I was their age, I was watching YouTube because that's what there was, but now there's short form content. So they can just watch that on TikTok or Instagram, wherever, and kind of get their fill that way. I don't know. I feel like is such a loaded, I could talk about that in an entire video. My thoughts, my experience in the beauty community, if you will. I don't know. Anyway, that's our show, folks. I hope that you enjoyed. I certainly enjoyed chatting with you guys, catching up, talking about all the things that are on our mind, from bacon to the beauty community dying to whatever else. But I hope you enjoyed this little slice away from all the craziness of life. I love you dearly. I hope that you'll subscribe, and I will see you guys, of course, in my next video. Bye.